My name is Lindy. I have been with this MFRC for 11 years now, and specifically working with the Children's Deployment Support Program. It is a program I love. I believe in it. It's evolved and changed a lot over the years, but I'm going to give you just a basic overview of how we go about working in the schools, how we work with the children, that sort of thing. So, next.
I'm going to turn off your video.
Okay. It's very odd talking to a computer, so. All right. Next slide.
Can't see well from here, sorry.
There. All right. So what you're seeing is just kind of the basic blurb we use for marketing. Sums up the program really well. It's a peer support program. It's delivered in local schools. We find seeing the kids in the schools reduces a lot of barriers for parents, particularly during deployment. So they don't have to worry about conflicts with schedules, driving their kids there, that sort of thing. We go to the children, and it works very well. And it's for any children who are experiencing the deployment of a parent, so it doesn't necessarily mean overseas. It could be IR, courses, tasking. For most of the kids, all they know is a parent is away, and they deal with a lot of the same things. So a couple different kind of key points about the program. The biggest part is the peer support. So watching the kids when they realize, oh, you know, her mommy's away too, and his dad's away, and we're all going through the same thing. And then kind of connecting them to a little network, a little support network in their schools, their classrooms, helping each other through it. It's also an outlet for them, so gives them a chance to basically to vent, to talk about what they're going through, to receive validation that what they're feeling is normal, that they're okay. And then the third part is we teach them a lot of, we call them positive living skills, stress management. Basically, it's self-regulation. So anything really that they can put in their toolbox to help them get through each deployment, each situation in their life. Okay. Next. So, I just said all this, but program goals. Yeah, it's basically fostering emotional resilience. So we're trying to get the kids as strong and calm through each situation. A lot of our population in the schools, a lot of our registrations are hands-off, so we've had to adapt the program quite a bit for different situations, different ways that our units deploy. Some come and go quickly, some are gone for 8 months, so they're all welcome in the program. We also have, over the years, seen children whose parents are NATO, so not military, PSP staff that were working overseas. They're all welcome in the program. They're all going through the same type of thing, so we don't restrict. Yeah, next. There we go. So registration, it's hard to see the whole thing. This is kind of our basic poster, so we update the link every year, and how we conduct the registration program is through a program called Event Wizard. So it's an online registration. Been probably about 6 years we've been doing it. There was a lot of hiccups at first, but it is it's encrypted, it is military approved, it's safe for OPSEC. So the neat part about the program is it allows us to email the parents as a whole, as a group, by school, that sort of thing. We can send parent evaluations through it, and it also keeps our stats, which is awesome. So we open this about mid-August, and we close it in May because our program goes from October to May. So this poster is given about all the kids, especially a lot of our schools are almost completely military, like the main schools in Petawawa. We also ask the schools that we work in, we'll put it in their newsletter, their blog, that sort of thing. We print mini copies, and those are given to school support counselors at the office so people can pick them up. Francis talks about them at DAGs, at clearance, that sort of thing. So we try not to overmarket the program because it kind of does its own thing.
Can you register at any time?
You can register from from August to May. So we pick up children throughout the year. You know, if a parent registers in January, then we just add them to an existing group. Scheduling. This is the fun part. And this is where there's a lot of questions, or it seems simple enough until you're actually in the process of it. So the kids are divided by age, developmental level, and then teacher. So if you look at some of these groups, I've removed the kids' names, so where it would say student in the center. These are how I divide the groups up. Yeah. So ideal group is about 8 children or slightly less. As you can see in this third group here, it's 1 and 2, there is a lot of kids in that group. So unfortunately, you get a lot of kids, and the kids don't get one-on-one time. They aren't necessarily heard. So with an example of that third group, I would split them, and how I would do that is by teachers. So big thing with scheduling in the schools we found over the years is trying to be as accommodating as we possibly can, because it makes our lives easier being able to program in the schools. That being said, some of the teachers understandably don't appreciate being interrupted, so I will do my best to just take children once from their class. So kids with special needs are included. They may obviously need a smaller group. We've had kids in the groups with service dogs, kids that are nonverbal. You just adapt and work with that the best you can. The younger children often, groups are typically 45 minutes, and we are there every other week. The younger kids, because of their developmental level, 20 to 30 minutes is probably plenty. The older children, you know, grade 5, 6, 7, 8, I usually kind of adjust to an hour. Those are the kids that really want to talk. They really want to engage. We've had a lot of repeat children over the years, and that actually is very helpful. So what I will do with them is have them almost teach the group, teach whatever management skills we're doing, and use them as a mentor for the other children that are just starting to go through their first deployments. I found what works best is seeing the youngest children, junior kindergarten, senior kindergarten, after announcements, after their anthem, that sort of thing, but long before a recess or lunch, or else you are going to be getting them dressed and ready outside by yourself. So I try to see the youngest kids, probably give them 15 minutes to get back to class. And I try to give about 10 minutes in between groups. Some schools will call the children down for you from the office. So whatever room you're using, they'll say, you know, can so-and-so and so-and-so please come down to room 10. Other schools require us to collect the kids, which is why I give 10 minutes, because it can often take quite a bit. Yeah, so 10 minutes, and then to clean up and set up for the new children. Space is a big one in the schools, and it is really, really hard, which is a lot of politics that go on, because there's a lot of different community partners that use the school space. So I start with trying to be as accommodating as possible. You know, we need a room for this time, and to avoid any of the territorial issues, we try to explain that we're just working on deployment. With the military kids, we're trying to make your lives easier. And it's really important to try and secure at least a semi-private space. The kids won't engage. So sometimes a school will put us in the cafeteria or in the library, and there's interruptions, people coming in and out, and it's really, really hard to conduct a group. Consistency is another big one. So we have 5 programmers working in about 13 different schools, and the military community is very small. So we try really hard. If, you know, programmer 1 is working in this school, they're doing the same activity as programmer 3 working in other schools. We found when we weren't doing that, we weren't as consistent and kind of running with our own programs, that the kids would talk at soccer and swimming class, and there would be complaints or kids that wanted to do this something anyway. So we try really hard to follow the same program, activity, and timeline at all of the different schools. As a facilitator, you are a peer leader. So this is a bit dicey at some points, because you do need to enforce rules and behavior and code of conduct, that sort of thing with the children, but you are also a peer. So the kids call me Lindy, not Mrs. Berry, not ma'am, not anything. It's Lindy. If they're sitting on the floor, I'm sitting on the floor. I use my personal experiences with them within reason. You know, when my husband was away, this helped my son, and that's totally okay, and the kids really relate to that. And then when the children are engaged in creating their own rules, they're often pretty quick to enforce them within their group. Confidentiality. And there's a bunch of different components to this, but I'll just go over them briefly. So with the children, we go over it with them with each session. I mention it when we do a little check-in. When I have all the kids in the room, we talk about, you know, what you say in here is safe, except for, you know, harm to yourself or harm to others. So I'm not going to get you in trouble for spelling something wrong. I'm not going to freak out if you swear or if you say mom is mean. I'm not going to tell mom that you said that. To really foster an idea of trust with the kids. They really I make a point of telling the children that I am not a teacher. I don't work for the school board, and that seems to help a little bit get that engagement and that rapport with them. Other part of confidentiality is it needs to be explained to school staff and the parents. We'll often have teachers say, you know, there's no reason to pick him up, his dad's away, or you know, where's his mom, that sort of thing. So all we can say is they're registered for the program. We're not breaching operational security. It's up to the family to tell that teacher where the parent is if they choose to tell them at all. So because you're working in the schools does not mean they have a right to know exactly where the parent is when they're returning. And we explain that to the parents when they register as well. On the other note, we can't take kids without parental consent. So you'll often have teachers referring students. I'll be picking up children from a classroom, and they'll say, oh, Johnny's dad's away. Take him too. We can't do that without parental consent. So what I would do is give them a little mini poster with the link and say they're welcome to sign up and give me a call, but we can't take kids without their parents, obviously. Regarding confidentiality, consent to disclose. So if a family wishes, then we have, I'm sure all the MFRCs have their own paperwork for consent to disclose. So if a parent wants us to connect with the teacher about that child's behavior or their coping plan, These are really helpful if you ever end up involved in IEPs for the kids, which I have often, just so that we're all on the same page. Same goes for children's aid workers, anybody else, doctors that are involved with the children. In order to speak to anybody else about that child, we do need a consent to disclose. What you're seeing right now is what we give to the children the first time we see that child. And we do that specifically with our names so that the parents know which one to call. Like I said, there's 5 of us, so it's got basic information, basic dates. We kind of break the school program into quarters. So there's October to Christmas break, from Christmas break to March break, and then March break to summer break. So we send this home with each child at the beginning, so they have our contact information, just a basic overview of what we do. Get to the next. Yeah. All right. And then this is a newsletter. So we send these in each kind of school quarter. This was the one we just sent out for the end of the year. Was one of their activities. They did a photograph on it. We found through different evaluations over the years that parents really, really want to know what we're doing with their kids, which is understandable. Unfortunately, we can't call 200 parents, every other week and say, Johnny did great, or, Susie learned how to do muscle relaxation. So they get kind of an overview newsletter, and then with our contact information on it. We send this through Event Wizard, like our software we use for registration. It's super easy. So there's another example. I think there's another one. Yeah. So different things that we focus on. Timeline, I think, was the last thing. And I'm sorry if I'm all over the place. Ideally, we like to see the children before their parent deploys, if at all possible. Find it helps to give them some tools in their toolbox so they are able to cope a little bit better and they have that supportive group for when their parent deploys. The same being said when their parent returns. We found in our groups, typically there's a lot of issues with reintegration. Sometimes behavior spikes, there's regression, that sort of thing. So if the children have that support network already in place, we like to keep them probably 2 to 3 months after their parents have returned. If their parent comes back, say, in January, what we'll do is keep that child in the group until March break and use those natural breaks of school holidays to discharge children. That way you're not, oh, sorry, your parent's home, you can't come. You'll have a lot less crying children, a lot less confusion. This is explained on our website, the registration software, all of that. Okay. Currently, so we're biweekly, 13 different schools. We have 4 different school boards we work with, and all of them are a little bit different. Some require you have the parents' registration with you. Some want more contact with us. Some schools, as long as we don't disturb them or interrupt, we barely speak to adults there. So 300 kids, the quarterly letter to parents are the things I just showed you. The schools that we don't have children registered in, what we will do is give them a package. So say there's 2 kids in a school half an hour away, and that's it. We will bring them a package, so it has some resources in it, some activities, and go and meet with those kids quarterly. So probably 3 times over the school year, and talk about strategies, and this is how we're going to get through this, just to try and keep them connected. Mental health services, we have teen groups, so they call them military support groups. 3 local high schools. One of our Catholic high schools, I think it's 7th year, and we consistently have about 30 to 40 children every group, so very well attended. Oh, summer program. All right. So our program ends in May. It just finished. We just wrapped up in all the schools last week. But from, June, July, August, September, those kids seem like they are not supported. So what we'll do is offer summer boosters, is what we've been calling them. So they are typically a bit longer. Divide them by age group. We've tried different things, afternoons, evenings, weekends, and sometimes we'll advertise all three and see which one is better attended. But we'll do probably 2.5 to 3 hours of a peer group in the summertime. So they're pretty well attended. I find more in September, just to keep connected with the kids throughout the summer. And resources used in CDSP is on the same page for FSNR.
They already have access.
Yes. Sorry, I was confused. So you should have access to a lot of the resources, the things that we use, different handouts, different activities, different groups. And I think that is about it, except for other questions, and I apologize if I'm rambling all over the place. I don't normally talk to grown-ups.
Thank you very much, Lindy. It's a very informative presentation. I'm looking at the chat box. So Maria says, you did great. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mariella.
If you have any questions, please type in your question in the chat, and I can relate to Lindy. We have around 5 minutes. Okay, Rebecca says, this was amazing. Thank you for all the information.
Yeah.
If anyone has questions about this presentation, you can directly contact Petawawa. The phone number, I think it's with the presentation on the, yes. So they can provide you with more. We have a question from Karen Furland. Karen is asking, where would we find access to your resources?
So CDSP for us here in Petawawa is run by the deployment coordinators, so the family and reunion and separation coordinators. And so through this group online through Canada, we have a same page website that we shared everything on there. So family information line, is the one that controls that computer, that web page and web space, and that's where everybody from the other MFRCs are able to add information. And so in that chat is where I've sent out all the links, because the challenge that we're getting here in Petawawa is we're having 35, sometimes 50 different people from across the country calling in and asking a question. So that's why we did this WebEx, so we can have one stop where we can give you all the information. I will use the same page to answer the majority of the questions and also share the resources that we have. But it is time-consuming for answering each different ones. And so same page, again, go if you're not on there, you don't know what that is, go to the family information line, ask about it, and see how your center can be connected, because it is a way that we can at least, it's best practices. So it's basically not saying here Petawawa is the best, say here's what we're doing, here's what it works. Esquimalt has put some things on there, same as Calgary, Valcartier, it's opened up for everybody. And we're looking at basically how can we share our best practices, and instead of starting something from scratch, you can take something that we did and then just adapt it to where your center is. That's the main thing that we're trying to do for everyone. Is there anybody in French that want to ask a question in French too? Because that's something that is possible for today. And I guess the other question would be to ask is, does everybody have access to the chat to type in? Because I believe from the past discussions is that not every MFRC is able to have a non-D1 computer to use. And I believe that we may have some people that here they're a phone only, do not have access to the visual part of it. And so I think that it'd be worthwhile asking.
They can unmute themselves and ask.
Exactly. Yes. So if anyone does not have access to the chat box to ask questions, you can unmute yourself on the phone. For unmuting, you can put *7, and you can ask your question on the phone.
Hi, Frances.
Oh, hello.
Yes?
It's Marnie from the Kingston Military Family Resource Center. We only have DWAN computers, but I can still see the same page and the group talks and the chats and stuff.
Perfect. Any questions about CDSP?
No.
Thank you.
Thank you. It was really good, Linda.
Thank you.
Okay, we have from Caroline Campbell saying thank you. And Jan Kerwin, fantastic program. Thanks for the information.
So if it's possible, I'll go back to the first page, and there's Lindy's contact information. If there's any questions, please email. It's easiest to answer than telephone. So if you have any specific questions that we're not addressing here, that is not on the same page, email questions, please, and in terms of what they are, and then we'll do our best to answer that when we have a chance.
Perfect. So you would prefer email to phone?
Yes.
Right?
It's easier for us to manage, yes.
Yeah, okay, perfect. So we have the email address here and the phone number. Okay. So we have.
Is there any other questions or comments?
If any questions, please, if you can type in your questions in the chat box, if you have the chat accessible to you. If not, you can unmute yourself, *7, and you can ask your questions on the phone.
So Mitra, is it possible to ask for a copy of the recording and to be put on to the same page, please?
Absolutely, yes. We will, after recording, we will work on it with Jonathan, just because at the beginning we had a little bit extra recording. We will just available, and then we will share it with everyone, definitely.
Sounds good.
Okay, perfect. So I guess there's no more question. It's 12:31. If there is no question, so we can end this session. Thank you very much, Francis. Thank you very much, Lyndon. It was a very informative presentation, and we will just trim the video and share it with everyone and send it to you as well.
And thanks again to everybody who called in today. Have a great day, everybody.
Have a great day.